He hates you. They hate us. Men do not like us. Be alone. That's really the only other option. Just be alone, look in the mirror, sit with yourself, cry, have an ego death, and then get really hot, get a bunch of hobbies, be extremely successful, and write a fucking book or something. Just be alone. Oh my god. It is so much better than being with someone who fucking hates your ass. You know who doesn't have to hate you? You. You don't have to hate yourself. You could work on that relationship and it'll be so fulfilling. The journey of it too, of loving yourself, is really fulfilling. Just be alone. He hates you and they hate us. Stop trying to make it work.
So I'm seeing a lot of these videos lately, and we as women are living in such an interesting time. I feel like this is our female enlightenment period, era, or whatever you want to call it, right? But I just thought that video was interesting, and first things first, you don't have to be alone, okay? So just so you know, you do not have to be alone. But at the same time, you do not have to align yourself with unhealed, wounded people, particularly men, because they will literally destroy you. They will destroy your life, okay? A man that is wounded is going to drain you of your resources, your energy, your feminine essence, and they basically going to ruin your life. But I'm not about to talk about that today. Today, I'm going to talk about the female ego and how to have a female ego death. When you experience that female ego death, all right, and I'm not speaking from a spiritual point of view, but ego death is basically a spiritual journey that a lot of people go through. And they have this Kundalini awakening, but I'm not going to make this video. I'm not going to talk about spirituality in this video, okay? But just so you have an idea, if you have an ego, which we all do, and you have not worked on that ego, and you have not experienced a female ego death, you have not confronted that ego, people will be able to manipulate you, men in particular. All the manipulative games that men play are not going to work on you if you have your female ego in check. If it's not in check, you are going to be out here looking really foolish and really, really stupid, because there are some things that men do. For example, negging is one of them. Negging is very effective. When a man negs you and your female ego is not in check, it changes the dynamic between you and him. Okay, so what it does, it puts him in the position of power, and it puts you in the position of chasing, seeking validation, etc. A lot of women are dating, and the way they date is all wrapped up in their female ego. For example, dating for validation is one of those female ego thing that a lot of women do. We are so unaware of it. A lot of us are so thirsty for male validation. That's it. That's your female ego. That is your wounded feminine. Because at the end of the day, true validation only comes from within. It doesn't come from without. It will never come from without. You got to take that into consideration. If you are the type of girl that, maybe you break up with someone or some guy, maybe your crush or whatever, and I can't believe I'm using the word crush, but there are some young women that listen to my videos, okay? And ladies, if you really want to get into your power and get your act together and be the bad bitch that you're supposed to be, you need to subscribe to this channel. You also need to sign up to my Patreon. You need to sign up to my Patreon. You need to join my book club, ladies, because the resources that are available to you on my Patreon is very life-changing. I literally have over 4 years worth of content on my Patreon. Once you sign up to my Patreon, you're not going to get bored. There's always going to be something, because we basically covered every single topic that you can basically think about in terms of dating, relationship, men, marriage, hypergamy, etc. So be sure to sign up. Sign up today. It costs less than a cup of coffee to sign up today. You all pay Tinder more than that, okay? So invest in yourself today. Sign up to my Patreon. So back to the female ego, all right? Dating for validation is a sign of wounded feminine and unhealthy female ego. If you have a bunch of guys, if you're getting a lot of attention from guys and you're getting a lot of attention from men, okay, I don't want to say guys, let's say men. If you're getting a lot of attention from men, your phone is always blowing up, etc. And the majority of those men that are blowing up your phone, that are giving you attention, are low value men, men that you would never ever give the time of day, or men that you could never see a future with, or men that are just filling space because you're waiting for the guy that doesn't want you to, I don't know, somehow change his mind. That is the female ego, and that is you seeking validation outside of yourself. So also, if you think those men actually like you, that's your ego. Because girl, come on, you know better. If you were that special and you were that great, and you think that if you were really as amazing as you think you are, which you are, you really are. It's just that if you're still single and you're still struggling with men and men are still ghosting you, etc., how could you believe that men actually like you? Like how? If your last two relationships were horrible, you were treated poorly in your relationship, how could you believe that you're so special? Another thing, another sign that you are dealing with your female ego, if you have magic pussy syndrome, because I think that's the best way I can explain it, like that's the best term I can use. If you have magic pussy syndrome, let me just tell you that shit is not based in reality at all. That is absolutely delulu. That is delusional female ego. Okay. If you're still delusional, that's your female ego that is setting you up. All right. Let me explain to you what magic pussy syndrome is, because I talked about this before. You all remember when Sierra got with Future, and she knows his track record. She know that this man has a line of baby mamas, but because she think that, you know what, well, I'm not like those other girls. I'm not like his other baby mamas. I'm Sierra. I'm Sierra. Like, there's no way he's gonna treat me like those other baby mamas. And guess what happened? He treated her exactly like he treated his other baby mamas. And he tried to ruin her. He tried to ruin her reputation, basically tried to destroy her. And of course, that did not work because, thank God for Sierra. Sierra had something that most of Future baby mamas did not have. She had money and status. Okay. She had leverage. She had a safety net. That's the only thing that basically saved her from being one of his loser baby mamas, I guess. So, but because she thinks that she's so special and she's Sierra, I'm special, I'm Sierra. That's what I call the magic pussy syndrome, because a lot of women think, well, oh, he's not gonna do that to me. Like, there's no way he's gonna do that to me. I'm special, I'm the one he love. I'm not like his ex or his ex-wife or whatever. Like, I'm not like his other baby mamas. Like, come on, like the fact that you out here comparing yourself to women that this man have wronged, and you knowing that he wronged those women, that's the female ego. That is pathetic. That is very pick me. And guess what? He's going to do you the same, because a woman that been through the ego death, learn from her mistakes, etc., and learn to understand men. A woman that understands the true nature of men would know that men will always repeat patterns, and it doesn't matter how amazing you are, he's going to treat you exactly the same. So if I was single right now and I was looking for a husband, I would never, ever consider a man with multiple baby mamas, because I'm not going to think that I'm so special that, he's not going to make me his 11th baby mama or whatever. So, I've been through the ego death. Ladies, please don't be a fool out here. Don't be looking stupid out here, because that female ego will have you looking really stupid, like hella stupid. All right. So once you understand what the female ego is, because I feel like I've explained it well enough, I'm going to share with you the stages of a spiritual ego death. And then I'm going to explain to you what the female ego death is and what it looks like. Okay. Because an ego death in itself is something that is spiritual. It's kind of like a spiritual awakening. All right. So there are stages to an ego death. All right. You have the spiritual awakening. That's the first stage. That's when you start to feel like there's a void in your life, right? So if we were to compare this to a female ego death, That's the stage when you feel like, you know what, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. What the F is going on? That's when you start questioning, like, is it me? Is there something wrong with me? Because once you realize that you are the common denominator, in all your past relationships and interactions with men that were negative, then you're gonna realize that, you know what, there is something that I am doing wrong. You hold yourself accountable, and then you start making changes. You start doing the inner work. If you were doing a spiritual ego death, it would be a spiritual awakening. But as a woman, and it's a female ego death, it's an awakening that, you know what, there is something not right here. There is definitely a pattern, because you recognize that there's a pattern. And now you are trying to figure out how to break this pattern. Because at the end of the day, you do not have to be alone and give up men forever. What you need to do is you need to do the inner work, and you become the best version of yourself, spiritually, mentally, physically, so that you attract better partners. And I'm telling you, it works, because when I went through my ego death at the age of 30, that's when things started changing for me. So stage 2, the dark night of the soul, right? That's when you are in your villain era as a woman. I'm talking about the female ego deaths, yeah? You basically, you in your villain era, you approaching your crone era. This is when you know exactly what you want, okay? You might not know, okay, first of all, you might not know exactly what you want, but you know that you know what you don't want. You know that I don't want no man with baby mamas. I don't care how cute he is. I don't want no man that is broke. You know that you don't want this stuff. You don't want a man that is lazy. You don't want a man that treats you poorly. You don't want a man that negs you. You know what you don't want. So once you realize what you don't want, then you start figuring out what you truly want. That's the dark night stage, the villain stage. You know exactly what you want. You are no longer the nice girl, the good girl. Okay, not a bad girl, but you're no longer that good girl. You're no longer that people-pleasing girl. You're no longer the girl sitting up there crying over some guy because he did not text you. All right. Exploration phase is when you're trying new things. Okay. This is the ego death. Okay. You're done with the old. You're done dealing with flaky men. Men don't keep their word. Men who don't keep their word. No money having men. Men that are negging. Like, you're no longer dealing with these men. Men that are inconsistent. You are exploring your options, and you are broadening your horizon at this stage in your journey. And moving on to stage 4 of a spiritual awakening, and I'm going to incorporate this message into a female ego death, spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call it, okay? So stage 4, you get to Satori. And Satori is basically a Buddhist term for momentary enlightenment. All right. It's like this quick moment when your ego dissolves. This is when you realize that, you know what, all this time, I thought I was special. I thought that, if a man talks to me, or if a man smile at me, that he really, really likes me. And you realize that the majority of the men that you entertained in the past did not deserve to be in your presence. That's when you start realizing that, that's when you have that enlightenment. Like, you know what? I'm the fucking shit. These men ain't shit. I am the prize. That's when you realize, like, you know what? I am the prize. Like, why was I out here acting like I wasn't the prize? Like, why was I out here being a pick-me? Why was I out here bending over backwards to please men? Like, why was I out here being a pick-me and throwing my sisters under the bus? Like, what the hell was I doing? That's your momentary enlightenment. And then, of course, you experience the soul growth. That's when you experience some personal growth in your mindset, the way you see relationships, the way you go about relationship, the way you approach men. And by approach men, like, you're not chasing men anymore. You're not sitting up here wanting men to do right by you, because at this point in your journey, if a man is not doing right, you immediately kick him to the curb. Like, you don't even give him a chance to do it again, because you know the pattern, and you're like, you know what? I've seen this before. I've been through this before. Goodbye. Because you know that man is not going to change. Okay? He's not going to change. So that's what you call growth. Growth is, okay, is dropping all fear. Okay, that's what I'm looking for, is dropping fear. Okay, you're no longer afraid to cut someone off. You're no longer afraid to cut someone off. Because why? Because, again, you no longer put up with that shit. That is not you anymore. That's the old you. This is the new you now. New you, new timeline, new reality. And the sixth stage is surrender. That video that I posted in the beginning, that is a girl surrendering. She's like, you know what? I'm not going to fight with this. I'm not going to. She basically accept that, you know what? Men really out here really don't be liking women. And this is a fact. A lot of straight men do not actually like women. They like having sex with women. They like being in relationship with women because it benefits them. But they typically do not really like women. And this is something that a lot of women are not willing to come to terms with. I'm not saying that there aren't men out there that like women. There are a lot of men out there that really like women, but a lot of men don't like women. They like their homies more. They like their male friends more than they like you. Okay? Some men like their car more than they like their girlfriends. Some men like their pets or their dogs more than they like their girlfriends. Surrendering and being like, you know what? It is what it is. This is what the men are like. Okay. Stop fighting it. Don't be like, not all men. Because if you are one of those girls that are like, not all men, like, that's your go-to rebuttal, that's your literally your only argument, then you're not going to grow. You're not going to have the ego death. You're not going to be able to do the inner work in order for you to attract the right men into your life. And stage 7, end of awareness. This is the stage where the female ego no longer defines who you are. All right? Because there are a lot of women that are very delusional. Like, the women with the magic pussy syndrome. They think that they're so special and I got that good girl. Like all of that shit defines them. Which in reality is, well, in reality, you are more than your body, you are more than your beauty, you're more than that. Okay? You are more than your physical beauty. You are more than just your body. You are more than your ability to attract a bunch of men. You are way more than that. So it's not easy. All right. And let me wrap it up and, share with you ladies how my ego death went, because it was not easy. That was literally the hardest thing, most heartbreaking thing I experienced in my life. That was the hardest thing I experienced in my life, because at that point, I realized that, you know what, the only person that I can truly rely on is myself. And the only person that is going to save me is myself. I'm a Gen Xer, so, I was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s and 90s. And I grew up in the era where men was always a focal point in a woman's life. All right. Relationship, marriage came first. Education, I feel like education came second. And hear me out. There were women that would give up school and give up the entire career just to get married for a man. Women were doing that in my era. I mean, there are women that are still doing that today, but most women nowadays are very smart. Like, I applaud Gen Z women, the young ones, because they are out here killing it. They are putting themselves first, and they're putting their careers first and their education first. And relationship comes after all of that. And that's basically how men viewed relationship anyways, because men will always put their career first. If you are with a man, you gotta work on that female ego, have that female ego death, and realize that you would never be number one. His career will always be number one. And why is that? Because a man's value is defined by what he does. And it's that simple. There you go. Now you understand why you will never be first. As a woman, you have to take a page out of that book, and you have to start putting yourself first and your career first and your education first. You got to focus on investing in yourself, learning new skills. Like, you really have to make yourself become, well, you basically have to make yourself a very well-rounded person. You have to, if you come from generational poverty or from working class, you have to create a safety net for yourself. You have to create a safety net. Like, you have to have something for yourself, so that if a man leaves your life, he does not leave you destitute. Do you know how it feels to be in a relationship with a guy that is, you're dating outside of your tax bracket, okay? Like, you're poor and you're dating a wealthy guy. He introduced you to this life, and it's such an amazing life. And then you break up, and now you're back to square one. You are right back to driving your old beat up Toyota, living with your parents. Like, that does not feel good, because I've been through that before. And I was like, whoa, I can't let this happen. I can't let this happen again, ever. You got to work on the female ego, okay? And you got to stop dating for validation. And you got to stop believing that men love you and you're so special and you got the magic pussy. Like, you got to stop that, because that shit is going to make you look like a damn fool. Sierra looked like a fool when she got knocked up by Future and he basically dumped her. Well, honestly, I don't know who dumped who, but he just made her one of his 11 teen single baby mamas, right? So that shit is embarrassing. And I see it happen to girls all the time. And that's literally the female ego at play. So you got to work on that ego, and you got to stop being delusional, and you have to accept reality that, you know what? You might be special, but in men's eyes, more than likely you're not special, especially if you are not attracting high quality men, okay? If you're still attracting dusties and you're still attracting fuck boys, and right now there's a guy that you're talking to who ghosted you, you got to realize to them that you ain't special. And that's the mindset that you have to have whenever you're dealing with a guy, especially when you still participate in online dating and stuff like that. You will never be disappointed or confused or anything like that. You get some hobbies, get your education, get your money up, create meaningful connections with other women and people from, different communities, etc., and live a full life. Work on yourself, become the best version of yourself. And I promise you, you are going to start attracting way better men than you're attracting now. Because after my ego death, at the age of 30, I went through a lot. And by the time I was, ready to start dating again, it was like night and day. The type of men that I was dating was so different compared to the men that I was dating before. So, I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, hit the subscribe button, follow me on Instagram, and sign up to my Patreon. Bye.